Thank you for joining us on the Service Source Services Leadership Podcast Series. We're excited today to be speaking with Mark Enzweiler. Mark is the Vice President of Global Alliances and Channels at Red Hat. In this role, he's responsible for the development and execution of Red Hat's global channel strategy and sales. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Hey, Jay, thank you. Glad to be here today.
Super. Well, let's dive right in. Mark, why don't you tell us about your role and responsibilities at Red Hat, including the solutions, services that you offer, and how long you've been with the company?
Well, Jay, I've been at Red Hat just over 6 years. Prior to that, spent about 26 years with IBM. Red Hat, as you know, is the world's largest open source software company. We sell enterprise-grade software from the operating system, which was really our the first product and one that we really built the business on, and we've since moved into the middleware, virtualization, cloud, storage, in the services business. I have responsibility for the strategy and the execution of all of our approximately 5,000 partners around the world. That is of all types, from distribution, solution providers, through our SIs, ISVs, certified cloud providers, etc. So run the gamut. It's been a great 6 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 6.
Dynamite. It sounds like a lot has changed in the last 6 years. You offer your solutions via subscription. Can you talk a little bit about that delivery model and how it may be different from your days at IBM?
Sure. Well, it's this time of year, Jay, that it always reminds me of the differences. At IBM, you would work hard all year, and then come January 1, they'd push the button and all the counters went back to zero. Of course, Red Hat is one of the few pure subscription businesses. So what we basically sell is when we sell the subscription every year, that comes up the following year as a renewal opportunity. So while it requires often certainly higher touch, because it's not something you put in and 3 years later go back and revisit, or when you have a new version release or something, because we have upgrades all the time. So it's a higher touch model, but it's actually a great business model.
Maybe you could go a little deeper on the high touch model or higher touch model. So how does that play out for you and others at Red Hat?
Well, again, in most businesses, if you want to grow your business, you kind of know what your productivity is for each of your routes. You know what it is for your sales organization. And so if you want to grow your business by X number of millions of dollars, you can arithmetically kind of put that in and say, okay, here's how many more people I need, here's where I need to put them. With a subscription business, certainly you can do some of that, but you got to factor in the different touch factors. So if you're just going to sell a subscription and never talk to the customer, don't engage with them throughout the year, obviously your chances of getting that renewal are not going to be as high as they would be had you had a more frequent touch. So you have a support model that supports higher touch. In our case, we use Service Source because we've been blessed by adding thousands and thousands of new customers every year, and obviously in a higher touch subscription type business, obviously we need to reach out beyond our own team to do that.
Thanks, Mark. What gets you up in the morning, and what excites you about continuing to be a part of the leadership team at Red Hat?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a couple things. First is the youth in the company. Our average age in this company is about 30 years old, so we have a lot of young, high-energy people. And I tell you cannot help but to get excited about coming and working with in that kind of environment every day. Second, of course, is the business model. It is a great business model. We think it's very consistent with where the market is moving, and something that our business was built on that model. So I'm get very excited about the model and the possibilities there, and I think it gives us the ability to adapt very quickly, versus if we were in the license business. So I like that. And third is, I got to tell you, the growth that we're having, whether you measure it, and particularly in net new customers or partner adoption rates or whatever you want to look at, I mean, the growth is very, very exciting for me. I spent a long time in this IT space, and I've got to tell you, it's a very good time here at Red Hat.
And in being a pure subscription business, how does that recurring revenue impact the way you think about think about investments and innovation and funding innovation in the business?
Well, I think it's an interesting model because, like I said, because the counters never go all the way back to zero, and you know that you have an annuity stream. I think it really helps in your business model. I think it helps you smooth out some of the peaks and valleys you might have. I think it also helps you be able to forward invest and fund things that otherwise, you may have to hold back on to wait and see if, what the real impact is on your business, depending on the economy and some of the other things we talked about.
Great. Thanks, Mark. And what role do you think technology plays in your renewals process?
Jay, that's probably a question I should ask you because we count on you for all the technology here. Look, as you know, you guys do it for us. It's been great. I guess what I didn't know when I first got involved in this renewal side of the business was, one, how complex it can be for a vendor to do it if it's not their core competency, and two, how easy it is to achieve the kind of results you want if you look outside to companies like ServiceSource that do this for a living every day. So technology is certainly at the cornerstone of that. I think success, though, basically breeds a desire for more success. And so what happens is, our partners have had great success with you guys around the world, but as you know, they keep coming back and saying, well, now I want to talk about expanding the technology to include this, and this, different sets of reporting. So I think it's absolutely critical. I think the good news is, because of the optimism around the model and the success they've had, I think it challenges all of us to step our game up, including ServiceSource. And again, I've been very pleased with the job you guys have done. So, but I think you could answer that question better than I could because you guys are at the center of it.
Well, maybe a couple of questions then about our relationship. So perhaps you can share how long you've partnered with ServiceSource, the scope of what we cover for you, and the benefits you've experienced.
Okay. Well, we started with ServiceSource about 2.5 years ago. Like maybe other organizations, our sales force initially wasn't thrilled about having someone come in and help with renewals, as you can imagine, because, again, if you think of their business, it's a combination of renewals, upsell, and new. But I will tell you, I think the performance that you guys pretty quickly posted, and you've basically convinced the teams that, wow, these guys really know what they're doing. You were able to drive that renewal rate up. And over that 2.5 years, I will tell you, we've almost gone the other way to where now our guys are saying, okay, let's move more over there. Great.
Thanks, Mark. You've clearly had a very successful career. Any advice you can share with future sales leaders?
You don't get too high on the high and too low on the lows. I think you need to look for help, and that means, don't assume that within your company you've got to solve every problem. So look outside where there's help. There are people, and again, I hearken back to ServiceSource. I mean, it's something that you guys do, and we could certainly afford it to hire people and put them in, but you do it very well. So in those cases, look outside, get the help. Sometimes that puts a little stress on the culture in any given company, but our job as leaders is to make those and help drive those cultural shifts that are critical for the long-term success of your company. So look for those opportunities and grab them. And then last but not least, and I think this is pretty fundamental, but you should always be looking for the best athletes. And, if you always looking to upskill your team, if you find an athlete, bring them on, right? You can develop them into the position player you may want them to be. But so it is about get the best skills you can find, keep a pretty balanced environment, and again, never get so arrogant that you're not willing, that you always look internally and think the answer is going to be in your conference room. The answer might be look outside, figure out who's doing it the best, embrace that, and then drive the cultural changes you need to in the company to make that to fully integrate that change.
Wonderful. Hey, Mark, final question for you. What do you know now that you wish you knew the first day you took over responsibility for the subscription business?
I wish I would have had some previous experience with this because what I just mentioned in my earlier comments, we immediately said, okay, well, renewals, we got them. Let's go figure out how we can be better at it. And I looked internally. I would have looked externally sooner. But again, I made some assumptions because foundation to our model was renewals, that we really were good at renewals and knew how to do it. And certainly when we started working with you guys, we found out that we can be a lot better. So I wish I had known that sooner. I could have registered millions of dollars more.
All right. Well, Mark, I want to thank you again for joining us on the ServiceSource Services Leadership Podcast Series. Your insights are invaluable, and I look forward to hearing of more great things coming out of Red Hat in the new year.
Okay. Jay, thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
You too.
Thanks.